Hello and welcome. It's our definitive Belmont Stakes seminar. Welcome to the Auxiliary Gate podcast channel. I'm CC Broaddus. This man is Geoff Riggs, otherwise known as the Bearded Handicapper. You can follow him on X if you wish. His Twitter address is below. Geoff, how's it going?
What's going on, CC? Going fantastically. Got the third leg of the Triple Crown here, and a little different at Saratoga this year, but I think the race is shaping up to be an awesome one. So I'm excited to dig into this with you.
Yeah, this should be the last year. It'll be at Saratoga, and hopefully, me and Dan have been talking about this. Hopefully, they'll stretch it back out to a mile and a half at the new Belmont Park next year.
The biggest
But
thing for me.
we shall see. All right, so we're going to cover this year's Belmont Stakes field of nine. We're going to go through every single horse and give our selections at the end. Let's first bring up the field for this year's Belmont Stakes. Of course, a field of nine, as I mentioned earlier. And it looks like, yeah, we've got Vitruvian Man on the rail at a big price. Power Shift. Interesting. Some of the main contenders drew on the outside. Golden Tempo, the Kentucky Derby winner, draws the 9 hole at 5-2. Probably doesn't matter as he's going to drop back to the back anyway. Any thoughts on the draw?
Yeah, I don't think anybody was really severely hindered by the draw at all. Power Shift is on the inside, is going to want to be up close anyway, and then as you said, with Golden Tempo on the far outside, I don't think that's any issue for him at all because I think he's going to drop out the back and just hope that there's enough speed up front.
All right. Now, the Auxiliary Gate podcast borrowed some money. We took out a $3 million loan to come up with a pace projector, and I'm going to throw it up on the screen here. The Belmont Stakes pace projector, $3 million, well spent right here. We killed a lot of trees, Geoff, to make this happen. Uh, Looks like a tepid pace, probably between Power Shift and Growth Equity stalking on his outside, even though the pace projector has him on the inside. That was a mistake. We'll try to get our money back on this pace projector, but that's what we owe right now, Geoff.
Well, it costs 5 million if you're going to want them really in the exact spots they're going to be. But I think this is at least a pretty good visualization for a CC on how the race is going to play out. I agree. I don't think it looks like it's going to be too hot of a pace early on, just because most of the main contenders just aren't front runners, and they're not going to be taken out of their game to do that. I do think that it benefits a horse like Power Shift a little bit, who's kind of an up and coming horse. But I think this is about right. I think emerging market, just with how close he was in the Derby, he could maybe be more mid pack than at the rear, how we're seeing there. But I think this is about how it's going to shake out, CC.
Okay. Without further ado, who runs Sunday in the Matt Win at Churchill Downs? Let's get started. Of course, the Belmont, $2 million, mile and a quarter. Vitruvian Man, earlier mentioned, drew the rail, 30-1 for Doug O'Neill. Antonio Fresu, the son of Vino Rosso, last seen April 4th, running third in the Santa Anita Derby behind Kentucky Derby starters So Happy and Potente. Vitruvian Man, probably one of those horses that will come from behind. Geoff, your thoughts on Vitruvian Man? You going to use him or are you just going to toss him?
Just complete toss for me, honestly. I mean, the Santa Anita Derby was definitely his best lifetime race, but he was still beaten by 9.5 lengths that day to So Happy. So, he's 47-1. I thought he just kind of picked up some pieces in there. Like he did finish better than a lot of them, but it was a lot of tiring horses that he passed. So I thought it was kind of a non-threatening third. He has had plenty of time off since then. As you said, that was early April, that race. So he's regrouped, and if he's just kind of coming into his own, then he could improve and maybe hit the board, or be underneath in a super or something. But just the way I'm playing this race, he's not going to be used for me. I think he's going to have to take a big step forward to really contend in here.
Yeah, I can't use him at all. I couldn't endorse that race at Santa Anita. I think he just lucked out. He had a bunch of horses that quit to his outside, and he just snuck up the rail.
Yeah.
A horse that I kind of liked back in the last summer at Ellis Park. It just never did really pan out. He did win at Keeneland, but I just don't think he's at this level at this
Yeah.
point in his career. Maybe down the road. Obviously, they like something about him, or they wouldn't ship him. But anyway, let's move on to number two. This is Power Shift, the son of Constitution. Todd Pletcher, Rapoli Stable. Probably the most key maiden race ever in the history of mankind was February 7th, Tampa Bay Downs, where he was run down by Emerging Market. Uh, Two starters here in this Belmont Stakes. Power Shift probably going to be Lone Speed, it appears. And Luis Saez takes the mount. How quick do they go in this opening quarter? Is this like maybe like a 24 and 1, 47 and 4 kind of opening salvo?
It very well could be because I just don't really see anyone who could go with power shift other than growth equity, and both being um I just don't think that growth equity has the same kind of speed that power shift has. Maybe Chad is going to want that one to send just to get an honest pace for emerging market potentially, but even if so, I just think power shift is going to be comfortable out there. And hey, even if growth equity is just dead set on the lead, power shift stalked beautifully in that maiden win on Derby Day last time. So I don't think he has any issue whatsoever if he doesn't have the lead. If he's just pressing a slow pace, I think that's just as good. I do think he's likely the speed of the speed still. I thought it was interesting because I saw some scuttlebutt on Twitter about people taking shots on Rapoli for entering Power Shift as a rabbit for Renegade when he had given Chad Brown some crap about entering a rabbit for Sierra Leone. But he snapped back and he basically said, if you think Power Shift is the rabbit in here, you're mistaken. You need to go, watch his races, look at his speed figures and everything. And I tend to agree with him. I think this is the price that I'm probably most interested in here in that double digit area. It'll be interesting to see what he goes off at. I think it probably will be around there just because of who else is in the field. But I mean, on numbers, he fits great. And just visually, that maiden win at Churchill, I thought was awesome. You already mentioned the maiden race where he just barely lost to Emerging Market, where they were just going head to head. As you said, the key of all key maiden races, thought it was incredibly impressive. Still got a ton of upside. And he gets Luis Saez, who is a great forward rider, knows the track well. I think he's absolutely a threat in here. Are you using him at all?
Oh, absolutely. This horse has a ton of upside. And,
Yeah,
on some numbers, like Thoroughgraph, he stacks up right with some of the best contenders in here. So it would not take that much of a belief to believe this horse could move forward in here and maybe win the whole thing. Especially he draws the rail. If the rail is good, I think this horse, could take them all the way if they
yeah.
wanted. So yeah, I'm firmly in the corner of Power Shift here. Three starts, obviously has a ton of room for upside. So yeah, Power Shift will be on all my tickets. Number three is Chief Wallaby, fourth place finisher in the Kentucky Derby. As they turn for home, I didn't notice this live, but I watching the replay several times, it looked like Junior Alvarado had a ton of horse, and he was just sitting behind horses waiting for a hole to open. And eventually, I think around the eighth pole, the hole did open, and Alvarado just could not get this horse through. Now, part of it is Oselli drifted in and bumped into Commandment, who bumped into Further Ado, which kind of closed the hole. But part of me wonders if Chief Wallaby just didn't want to go through the hole. What do you think?
It's fair. He was definitely impeded, and as you said, rewatching the replay of the Derby, it appeared that he had a ton of horse and that he was going to be a major player coming through. I thought he did run a good fourth in the Derby. I mean, he was only beaten 3 lengths for everything, and I feel like it felt like he wasn't as close to those top three. Just watching the race originally, I think I've been more impressed with Chief Wallaby watching replays, but I think that's a fair criticism. Like, did he just not want to go through there? Obviously, a smaller field on Saturday, so he's not going to have to worry about that as much. But having post three, he could get some crowding at some point that may be an issue. And I'm I'm not going to say I'm against him in this spot, but at the morning line price of 3-1, and just the fact that I know a lot of handicappers who really like Chief Wallaby and like him even more coming into the Belmont than they did going into the Derby. I think he's going to be that 3-1 price or even below. I think he's going to be basically hammered at the windows, and I just think that there's enough holes to poke in him to oppose on the top spot for me. It'd be tough for me to leave him out of like my tries and everything, but if I'm playing multi-race wagers, I'm probably not using much Chief Wallaby, if any at all. I mean, he was already beaten twice in a row by Commandment. who is going to be a bigger price than him in here, and I don't really see a reason why because he also had a tough trip in the Derby too. So I just think Chief Wallaby's probably going to get a little bit over bet in the Belmont Stakes this year. Is my biggest read on him.
I think you and I are going to be on the same page on a lot of these horses. I love this horse. I mean, I
Mhm.
think this horse is fabulous, but I think he's going to get overbet as well.
Yeah,
Like you
super
just
talented.
like you
Yeah.
just said, I think when this horse finally turns back, maybe a one turn mile would hit him right between the eyes. He's going to have to prove it to me, going 10 furlongs. And he was closing at the end of the Derby, but that was a very slow Derby. So
Right.
yeah, at 10 to 1, I'm interested. At 3 to 1, let him beat me. All right, moving right along to the race favorite. Number 4 is Renegade, the son of Into Mischief. Last seen run down by Golden Tempo in the Kentucky Derby. He finished second, beating the neck. He's never been off the board in all 6 career starts, though he's only won 2 of them. Rad Ortiz again retains the mount. And this winner of the Arkansas Derby, the Sam F. Davis, he's going to take a lot of beating, but he will be the favorite.
Yeah, he will be, and I think he's the deserving favorite in here. He's battle tested, and as you said, he's only won 2 of 6, but it's not like he doesn't want to win. Like he puts his head down and he battles hard every time. He ran huge in the Derby, as we all know, he was compromised at the break, having the rail draw. He was the horse that I was all in on going into Derby season, and then just with some of the chatter going on and then drawing the rail is what got me off of him. And I almost really regretted that because he was right there on the wire. He ran a winning race on Derby Day 100%. Um, I like that they skipped the Preakness with him, gave him some time off to regroup. He should be back in top form again. He is absolutely the horse to beat, major threat. As long as he at least gets a little bit of pace to run at, that's the biggest concern is the pace is not going to be like it was in the Derby unless it's a big shock and they just wing it out there. It can always happen, but it just seems very unlikely to me. So another one that I mean, I'm going to have to use him just because I think he wins the race a good amount of the time, but it's not so high of a percentage I can like lean on him. Like this isn't a single in here, so I'm going to be price shopping a little bit. So I'd say semi against, but respect Renegade.
We'll say this about this Arkansas Derby victory. Nothing in there has come back to run well at all. Uh,
It's a
you
good
know, it,
point.
it was reported that Silent Tactic went into the race with a foot bruise, and obviously he wouldn't run his best. Taptastic came back to run horribly on Derby Day. I know there was other horses in there. Litmus Test ran terribly in the Derby. So Arkansas Derby really coming up pretty weak. So that's his horse's marquee win. Again, if I can use him to save the ticket, I will use it. But yeah, Renegade would be a fade for me at the price, and I think he's going to take a lot of money off that 2 to 1 morning line. They may bet him down maybe 6 to 5, 7 to 5 before it's all said and done because he's a hot horse in the eyes of the public.
Yep. I'd be surprised if he's not the defined favorite in here.
Number 5 is Otino, son of Quality Road for Chad Brown, Three Chimneys Farm. Dylan Davis gets the mount. Last seen finishing a distant second to Further Ado in the Bluegrass Stakes. He was a mile back.
Yeah.
Further Ado not necessarily franking the form of that Bluegrass. You want to talk about weak prep races for the Derby. Yeah, there's nothing that's come back out of this race. A few of them have run. Talking, who ran third, was up the track in the Preakness. Great White scratched out of the Derby and came back to run up the track in the Preakness as well. Uh, Otino's probably not for me. I got a feeling he's not for you either.
Yeah, he's not at all. Yeah, another one for Chad Brown in here. I know the connections are going to want to run in this kind of race, but as you said, I think the Bluegrass might be the most fraudulent of the Derby, the Triple Crown season preps this year. Further Ado was great that day, but as you said, it didn't run huge coming back. And Reagan's Honor was the other kind of favorite in there who bled that day, so didn't show up at all in there. And it just nobody's come back to run well. So it's a very questionable race and did get beat 11 lengths to Further Ado that day. So Otino's going to have to really improve to threaten in here. And yeah, I just don't think that I can get myself to use him anywhere in this kind of field.
Number 6, Growth Equity, the son of Nyquist. Again, the second of a trio from the Chad Brown barn. Manny Franco takes the mount. Klarovich Stables owns this guy, and he's 2 for 4 lifetime. Never been worse than second in 4 starts. Last seen winning the Peter Pan. Another horse really with some upside, and a horse that could take advantage of a relatively tame early pace scenario.
Yeah, he should be forwardly placed in this what we think is going to be a slow-paced race, so has that advantage there. Did win the maiden race wire to wire and stalked well in the Peter Pan. I like the growth from race to race, speed figure wise, and just visually. You can tell he's getting better. Only 4 lifetime races, never been worse than second. So I like improving horses in these kind of races. Is a grade 3 winner in that Peter Pan already, so he should fit pretty well in here. I think this is kind of a horse that's going to be forgotten. I like Power Shift a little bit better if they're both at that 12 to 1 range, but I kind of think Power Shift might be at that price or a little lower, and I could see Growth Equity going the opposite direction. I could see him floating to 15 to 1, 20 to 1 just because of how much everybody's talking about every other horse, and I don't know anybody who's on this horse at all.
Right. Yeah, I was going to
So
say, yeah, he's the forgotten horse. I mean,
the
nobody.
forgotten
Yeah,
horse.
right, right.
Yeah,
Yep.
so if he's at 20 to 1, I'm gonna sprinkle him on a couple different multi-race things and definitely gonna use him underneath. I think more likely than anything, I think he's gonna be up front, close to or on or close to the lead, gonna have a ton left coming into the stretch, and he's gonna give a lot of people a heart attack who don't have him anywhere. And I think he has a really good shot to stick around for second, third, fourth. So try his supers. I'm definitely using him on the bottom end of all those. I think he's a major threat to hit the board.
Yeah. And Chad Brown would love to win this race in his backyard. So,
Definitely.
and probably the last chance he'll ever have to win the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga. So,
Taking 3 shots at it for sure.
take,
So you know
yep,
he wants it bad.
yep. Number 7 is Commandment, a horse that I'm having a struggle with trying to figure out what to do with him. He's 4 for 6 lifetime. Don't think that was an ideal trip in the Derby. First turn, Luis Saez had a chance to save ground, and instead he wanted to stay closer to the main pack, so he goes 3 wide, and that was the wrong move as the pace melted down, and he was too close, I think. So we get a jockey switch to John Velasquez. Cox made the switch, and now Commandment comes into this race with a little bit of a dirtied up trip, I guess you could say. But prior to that, he is very tenacious. And yeah, Commandment 6 to 1 on the morning line.
Yeah, I mean, if you told everybody 3 weeks before Derby that you could get Commandment, who appears to be doing well going into the Belmont at 6 to 1. I think a lot of people would be surprised, and that's just kind of how things have shaken out. You alluded to the trouble that he had in the Derby in a race where a lot of people had troubled trips. I thought Commandment had one of the worst. Just watching that race back, I thought he had all kinds of excuses in there. Ran seventh, but was only beaten 5 1/4 lengths. That's another one that felt like he was farther back than that to me. And it definitely looked like he was going to finish better if he didn't have that trouble in the stretch. So I think it's definitely dirtied up. I'm going to just cross a line through the Derby basically. And if you can do that, I mean, this looks really tough in here, especially at what's probably going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times the price of Renegade. Like, I don't think he's really that far off of likelihood of winning the race, especially if he's doing well here. Should probably get a little bit of a jump on the likes of Renegade and Golden Tempo. I think he's not, he's not going to be close to the pace, I don't think, unless I mean, I guess he could with how slow the pace we think it's going to be. Maybe he'll be closer than we think he's going to be, but he should at least get the jump on them. And I just like his talent and I like how much he fights. I just every time I watch a replay of Commandment, I love how much of a racehorse he is and how he just loves a battle on his hands. So if he is involved as they're coming down to the wire, my money's on him to win a fist fight against somebody getting there first. So I'm definitely going to be using Commandment on all of my tickets, basically.
Yep, I feel the same way. I just think he was sent off 6 to 1 in the Derby,
Hmm.
and you're essentially going to get the same price here in a probably a much easier spot. And yeah, so you get a jockey that probably fits him a little bit better. Yeah, Commandment will be on all my tickets. All right.
Hmm. Yeah, it's good to note switching to Johnny V. Yeah.
Number 8, Emerging Market. Once again, this is the final of the Chad Brown trio. Flavian Pratt aboard, just 3 starts, 2 wins. Uh, Not a very good run in the Derby. However, I found this tweet from JJ Heisel, Chad Brown on Emerging Market, who worked this morning at Saratoga. Of course, this was on May 16th. Quote, he's on target for the Belmont. I'm very happy with him. He lost a shoe in the Derby and took a couple days to get himself organized with that foot, but he's doing well. Okay. Uh, According to what I've heard, everybody said he lost a shoe in the first turn of the Derby. So that means he ran a mile without a shoe. Now, if you've ever tried to do that, it's very difficult. I'm sure it's the same for a horse. Flavian Pratt probably put him in a perfect position, honestly. That's the way Pratt rides the Derby. He always finds the right position for his horse. Either they fire or they don't. And this time he just happened to be too close to the hot nuclear pace, and he gave up down the lane. But that was just his third start, so obviously this horse has a big right to improve. He's fast on Thoroughgraph. He's fast on Brisnet. I think Emerging Market has a big shot here. What say you?
I think the whole shoe narrative is absolutely huge, honestly. I talked to Flavian right after he got off the horse on the dirt and during the Derby, and he honestly seemed kind of perplexed that he didn't have more horse. Like, he did think he was in a good spot, and he was like, when it was time to go, we just didn't have it today. And he was, lightly raced horse, maybe just, it was just too much for him to handle, but he still really likes the horse. He's like, I love the horse. I thought I was going to have more when I asked. And I think that tells the story right there. One, he was up closer to a hot pace than expected, and two, losing the shoe can really mess with their performance, especially, if Chad had that little quote about it took him, a little bit to get his foot back to where he needed to be. So it at least affected him. So I'm another one I can just totally draw a line through. You remember he's only got 3 career lifetime races, and this is the horse that I really fell in love with Derby week. Just being on the backside and watching all the horses, just the way that he carries himself. He's so mature beyond his 3 starts now that he has really only 2 that I would count as real starts. Um, we already mentioned the power shift race, how good he was on debut, and then the Louisiana Derby. I was just incredibly impressed with how professional he was, how he battled and got the job done there. And I think he is still improving. So with Chad saying that he's doing well, and how bad he wants to win this race, I think he is a huge threat in here and is going to be a better price than a couple of those that we mentioned as the favorites, and I think he's got as good of a chance of anybody. So he's the horse I am most interested in here. It'll be interesting to see how they bet this one. I'm not really sure what kind of price we're really going to get on Emerging Market. I guess it depends on how much money Golden Tempo takes and how much Renegade really does get hammered. But I mean, I don't see a world where he's not going to be a fair price somewhere in that 5-6 to 1 range. So I would absolutely love a win bet on Emerging Market at 5 to 1, 6 to 1.
Is somebody's got to be a fair price. They all can't take money,
Right.
thing, but
Yeah.
they love Chad Brown at
Hmm.
Saratoga. So I don't know, but yeah, he's a very intriguing prospect, and probably to me he's the horse in the race that has the brightest future. So yeah, this
Yeah, I agree.
very very interesting horse. I think he's gonna be a bear in here. And then finally on the far outside, number 9, Golden Tempo, the son of Curlin, the winner of the Kentucky Derby, uh, for Cherie DeVoe and Jose Ortiz. Jose delivered the perfect ride.
Perfect ride.
Yeah, perfect ride. And 9-2, kind of some disrespect for a Kentucky Derby winner. Although I think that line is probably pretty close to accurate. I don't see him taking a lot of money off that 9-2 line. But he's 3 for 5 lifetime. He's never been off the board. A horse that will be coming late. He just needs the pace, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the bottom line. He's a horse that's really kind of coming into his own, which is what you love to see in Triple Crown season, is those 3-year-olds that are really flourishing at the right time. He's obviously better than ever. I do think that Sheree putting the blinkers on to back in Louisiana Derby really kind of showed it, got him to his best potential. He was you could always tell he was really talented before that. And even though he ran third in the Louisiana Derby, I thought he ran a great race that day behind Emerging Market. And then second time blinkers in the Derby, obviously winning the Kentucky Derby. It's hard to knock anything about that other than just the pace setup that I don't think he's going to get here in the Belmont. So that is my concern. That's the reason I think you're going to get around that 9-2. But I mean, he's an obvious threat if the pace does shape up. I'm just afraid it's not going to be there, so it's not enough for me to really back him. Definitely going to be using him at least underneath and probably sprinkling on the top end of some of my multi-race exotics on the tickets that I'm spreading in. But in the ones that I'm getting more skinny, I'm just not going to be able to use him.
All right, let's take a look at our selections. Not a lot of diversity of thought, unfortunately. For you, emerging market on top, and looks like Commandment in second, and third you went with Power Shift.
hmm Yep, yeah, I think emerging market I like a lot coming into the race. I think he's the value in here. Chad, as we've said probably four times now, just he wants this race so bad. It seems like emerging markets coming into the race great. Had the excuse in the Derby. I loved how he was coming into the Derby week, and I just don't see any reason to get off of him at a price that I think is going to be very fair. Commandment's another one who I think is going to be value as well, 6-1 on the morning line too, and I think he's probably going to be around that price. As I mentioned, he had that serious trouble in the Derby, and he's just an absolute gamer. His 101 buyer in the Fountain of Youth is the best in anybody's run in the entire field. So at his best, he's already been the best if he doesn't improve. I just like him as a racehorse, and I think he is incredible value in here as well. And then my price horse is going to be Power Shift. I'm not really sure which way off the morning line that one's going to go, but anywhere near that 12-1, I'm very interested in all spots. And he could be the speed of the speed as we've talked about. Probably not going to be a fast pace. Even if one other one goes, he can sit just off, be totally fine. I think the connections like him a lot, and I like how rapidly he's improving. Like he could be scary good if he takes another big step off of that maiden win at Churchill, just because visually I thought it was great. It looked like he had plenty in the tank. I don't think distance is going to be an issue for him. So power shift is one that I'm definitely going to be using on every spot of my tickets, and even in my skinnier tickets, multi-race wagers, he's probably going to be in there just because the value is offering at 12-1.
All right, and let's take a look at my selections. Number eight, emerging market on top. I'm with you on that. The shoe issues. I like this horse a lot in the Derby. No use getting off of him now at maybe a higher price. Hard to tell. But number two, Power Shift. I think a horse that has a chance to go wire to wire. It was 2 years ago. I think Dornoch went wire to wire in this race at an overlooked price. And so, yeah, I think Power Shift, like Emerging Market, has a high ceiling, as they say. And then Commandment for third, Commandment horse, I really struggled with. Ultimately, I decided to put him on the ticket just because of the price. Now, the issue with both of us, we're leaving off some really good horses. Neither of us have Renegade, Chief Wallaby, and yeah, so and Golden Tempo. So it's kind of hard to fathom those three horses would be off the board. But somebody's got to be off the board. So yeah. Anyway, that's the way we see it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Like if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Also, leave a comment. Who do you like in this year's edition of the Belmont Stakes? That's all for now. We'll have more videos later on. Good luck in this weekend's Belmont Stakes. Good luck in all the big races, big time cards on Friday and Saturday. And of course, Churchill Downs has a couple of good stakes races on Sunday. On behalf of the bearded handicapper Geoff Riggs, I'm CC Broaddus. See you all next week.